People picture cowboys using their revolvers like in the movies, spinning them, twirling them, firing perfect shots like they were born gunfighters. The real West didn't look like that. A cowboy's revolver wasn't dramatic. It was whatever the night demanded: protection, comfort, or a quick answer when things turned dangerous fast. Most of the ways cowboys actually used their revolvers never show up in Hollywood. They're too plain, too practical, and not nearly flashy enough. So today, we're counting down 10 real ways cowboys used their revolvers, the everyday, unpolished realities the movies never bothered to show. Let's start at number 10. Number 10, nighttime camp insurance, the bedroll companion. Movies love showing a cowboy setting his revolver beside a lantern like he's turning in at a hotel. The real frontier didn't give you that luxury. Cowboys slept with their revolvers tucked inside the bedroll, under the blanket, under the saddle they used as a pillow, or pressed close enough that a hand found it instinctively. Not for drama, for survival. Night was when trouble crept in. Stray riders near the horses, wolves nosing toward the herd, a drunk stumbling into camp without warning. Frontier journals repeat the same habit. You kept the revolver where your hand reached it before your eyes opened. It didn't look impressive, it didn't look heroic, but on the real frontier, a revolver wasn't something you set down. It was something you held on to until morning. Number 9, the 5-shot reality, the empty chamber habit. Hollywood loves the image of a cowboy riding with all 6 chambers loaded, ready for action at any second. The real West wasn't that careless. Cowboys kept the chamber under the hammer empty. One bad jolt, one slip in the saddle, or one hard impact on the trail could drive the hammer straight into a live round. And on rough country, that was all it took to fire a shot into your own leg, or your horse. Frontier riders mentioned the same practice again and again. Load 5, leave the 6th open, and rest the hammer on the empty chamber. It didn't look dramatic, it didn't look fearless, but on the real frontier, the safest way to stay alive was to ride with one chamber empty, because a revolver wasn't helpful if it fired before you meant it to. Number 8, snake and pest defense, the close-range reality. Riding through tall grass was always a gamble. One step could put a horse over a rattlesnake, a skunk, or a burrow, just deep enough to snap a leg. That's why cowboys kept their revolvers ready for the small threats, the ones right underfoot. Snakes near the bedroll, pests creeping toward the campfire, prairie dogs digging holes the herd could break a leg in. These weren't dramatic shots, they were necessary ones. Frontier riders wrote about firing at snakes beside their boots or clearing burrows before leading horses through a patch of grass they didn't trust. It wasn't about looking tough, it was about keeping the trail safe. And most days, the closest thing to danger wasn't an outlaw. It was something crawling in the dirt. Number 7. Thumbing the hammer. While riding, the quiet trail safety. A cowboy riding fast over broken ground had more to worry about than the trail ahead. One bad jolt could slam a revolver's hammer straight into a live round. That's why riders kept a thumb resting lightly over the hammer whenever the terrain turned rough. It steadied the gun through bumps, drops, and sudden shifts in the saddle. A simple habit that stopped accidental shots long before they happened. Frontier accounts mention the same motion again and again. On bad country, your thumb was the safety. It kept the revolver silent, controlled, and pointed where it needed to be. It didn't look heroic, it didn't make for a flashy draw. But on the real trail, a cowboy's thumb kept more people safe than the holster ever did. Number 6, using revolvers as precision tools. The trail hand's quick fix. On the trail, small things constantly went wrong. Pins worked loose, straps seized up, and mud packed itself into places no hand could reach. Cowboys didn't stop the whole outfit to dig for tools. They used the revolver already on their hip. The butt and frame were tapped against stuck pins, used to clear a hoof or to free a buckle that locked up during a long ride. Not hard blows, just enough force to keep the day moving. Frontier riders mention the same habit across journals and letters. The revolver handled the little fixes that kept a drive from slowing to a crawl. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't meant to be. But on the real frontier, a revolver doubled as the quickest tool a cowboy had when something needed a fast, precise knock. Number 5. Revolver noise for herd control. the sound that turned a drive. Cattle didn't wait for hand signals or shouts. They reacted to sound. A single revolver shot into the air could turn a drifting line of steers, stop a slow-moving herd, or push stragglers back toward the main drive. Not as a threat, as a signal. The sharp crack carried farther than any voice and cut through wind, dust, and hoof noise when nothing else did. Trail journals describe riders firing upward to halt a movement before it turned dangerous, or to guide the herd when darkness made silent signals useless. It wasn't showy. It wasn't about fear. But on a long drive, the easiest way to steer 1,000 animals was often the sound of one shot. Number 4. Quick swap cylinder. Reloading, the frontier's fastest reload. Cowboys didn't stand still and feed cartridges one by one when things got tense. With early Colt percussion revolvers, and later the conversion models, the fastest reload on the frontier was swapping the entire cylinder in a single motion. Spare cylinders were kept loaded, wrapped in cloth, and ready to drop straight into the frame the moment the first one emptied. Frontier riders wrote about carrying an extra cylinder in a pocket or saddlebag, treating it like a ready-made second shot, long before cartridges made things easier. It wasn't flashy, it didn't look heroic. But on the real frontier, a cowboy's quickest reload wasn't speed. It was preparation. Number 3. Fire starting with caps, the percussion spark. Mornings on the trail didn't wait for good weather or dry wood. You needed a fire whether the land helped you or not. With older percussion cap revolvers, cowboys had a backup. Snapping a cap against a bit of dry cloth or grass threw a small spark, just enough to catch when flint and matches failed. It wasn't dramatic, but it worked when the cold or damp made everything else stubborn. Frontier riders wrote about using caps to bring a fire back to life after a long night, or to light breakfast coals before the sun was fully up. It didn't look like gunplay, it didn't look impressive, but on the real frontier, a revolver could start the day long before it ever fired a bullet. Number 2. Carrying multiple revolvers, the frontier reload system. Cowboys didn't reload in the middle of a fight. They switched guns. On the frontier, drawing a second revolver was faster than fumbling with loose cartridges or percussion caps under pressure. Riders, scouts, and some lawmen carried a spare revolver in a pocket, saddlebag, or tucked through the belt, treating it like a ready-made reload long before quick-draw myths took over the story. Frontier accounts describe men reaching for a second gun the moment the first ran dry, finishing the trouble before there was time to open a cylinder or grab fresh rounds. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't a show-off move, but in the real West, the fastest reload wasn't skill. It was carrying another gun. Number 1. Echo shots and sound signaling, the rider's long-distance call. Out on open country, a cowboy could be half a mile from the next rider, too far to shout, too spread out for hand signals, and too buried in wind and dust to trust eyesight alone. That's when the revolver became a voice. Cowboys fired a single shot to mark their location, 2 shots to signal trouble, or a spaced pair of echoes to guide riders back toward camp when the land turned confusing. The crack of a revolver carried across ridges, gullies, and rolling plains in a way nothing else could. Frontier journals mention men using echo shots to warn of strays, call for help after a horse went down, or signal riders lost in sudden weather. It wasn't about danger, it wasn't about looking brave, but in the real West, the simplest way to be heard was to let one shot roll across the land until someone listened. Cowboys didn't treat their revolvers like props or trophies. They used them, carried them, and relied on them in ways the movies never bothered to show. Not for showdowns, not for spinning tricks, but for the ordinary problems that filled every day on the frontier. Out there, a revolver wasn't about looking dangerous. It was about staying ready for the herd, for the weather, for the night, and for the things you never saw coming. And if you want more of the real Old West, the part without the Hollywood polish, make sure you're subscribed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.